Something shifts before life changes, and most people miss that moment entirely. It does not arrive as proof, noise, or confirmation. It shows up as a quiet internal feeling that something is loosening, reorganizing, or lining up beneath the surface. Nothing looks different yet, but you can feel that the old way of thinking no longer fits. That sensation is not imagination, and it is not coincidence. It is the earliest signal that alignment has already begun. Over time, life trains people into patterns without them noticing it. From the moment you were born, you observe your environment. You observe what feels safe, what feels threatening, what brings approval, and what brings discomfort. As you grow older, those observations turn into habits of thought. By the time most people reach adulthood, their emotional and vibrational patterns are so well established that very little appears to change, even when they desperately want something new. This is not because change is difficult. It is because familiarity feels natural, even when it feels uncomfortable. People continue thinking the same way because it feels known. They react to life using the same internal dialogue because it feels familiar. And then they wonder why life keeps responding in the same predictable ways. What most people do not realize is that life is constantly asking something new of you. Every experience you have causes you to refine what you want. Every moment of contrast launches a preference. Every emotional reaction sends information forward. You cannot stop asking for more clarity, more ease, more expansion. It happens automatically, whether you are aware of it or not. While you are asking, something else is happening quietly and efficiently. The broader part of you responds immediately. The moment you desire something, the non-physical part of you becomes the vibrational equivalent of that desire. There is no delay there. There is no waiting period. There is no judgment. The alignment exists instantly. The only variable is you. The question is never how long it takes for something to exist energetically. The question is how long it takes for you to stop arguing with it. The moment you complain, doubt, or obsess about timing, you step out of alignment with what you have already asked for. Not as punishment, not as failure, simply as physics. Imagine planting a seed and then standing over the soil demanding proof before the roots have formed. Nothing has gone wrong. The process is working perfectly. The problem is not the seed. The problem is the impatience that keeps pulling attention away from trust. Many people misunderstand the idea of readiness. They believe readiness means having everything figured out. In reality, readiness means emotional compatibility. You are ready for something when your emotional tone matches the experience of having it. That is why ease always precedes results. Calm always precedes clarity. Relief always precedes movement. This is why the start of a new phase in life often feels subtle rather than dramatic. Alignment does not usually announce itself with fireworks. It arrives as a quiet reduction of resistance, a softening of urgency, a sense that you no longer need to force the next step. You are not here to wrestle life into submission. You are here to cooperate with it. There are two perspectives operating within you at all times. One is the broader perspective that knows where you are going. It holds your preferences without fear. It does not question worthiness. It does not rush. The other perspective is the human one, shaped by habit, memory, and past outcomes. The emotional experience you have is the relationship between these two perspectives. When your thoughts align with the broader part of you, you feel clarity, enthusiasm, and quiet confidence. Your thoughts oppose it, you feel tension, frustration, and doubt. Emotion is not random. It is guidance. Most people believe negative emotion means something is wrong. In truth, it means you are temporarily out of sync with yourself. The discomfort is not punishment, it is information. At the beginning of a new phase, especially after a period of internal reflection, many people feel unsettled. They mistake this for regression. It is often the opposite. Old patterns resist release. New perspectives have not yet stabilized. The gap between who you have been and who you are becoming is where discomfort lives. This is where many people abandon the process. They interpret unease as failure and rush back to familiar habits. They lower expectations. They return to distraction. They silence the very signal that indicates growth. Alignment does not require perfection. It requires willingness. It asks you to notice what you feel and adjust gently rather than aggressively. It asks you to soften your inner dialogue rather than control outcomes. You are not required to believe everything will work out perfectly. You are only required to stop insisting that it will not. This is where the idea of allowing becomes important. Allowing does not mean passivity. It means removing resistance. It means choosing thoughts that feel slightly better rather than demanding certainty. It means trusting momentum more than timing. The universe responds to consistency, not intensity. A calm expectation carries more power than desperate hope. Quiet confidence moves faster than forced positivity. When people talk about manifestation taking time, they are often describing the time it takes to stop contradicting their own desire. The desire itself is never delayed. The resistance is what stretches the experience. Think about how easily you expect small things. You do not doubt them. You do not justify them. You do not argue with their possibility. That is why they show up effortlessly. Larger desires feel difficult only because you have practiced more doubt around them. The scale of what you want does not matter. Your relationship with the thought does. This is why alignment feels like relief. Relief signals that resistance has softened. Relief signals that you are no longer pushing against yourself. Relief is the doorway to movement. When alignment begins to activate, you may notice subtle shifts. You react differently to situations that once triggered you. You feel less compelled to explain yourself. You feel less urgency to prove progress. These are not signs of stagnation. They are signs of internal recalibration. You are becoming a vibrational match to something you cannot yet see. This is where trust becomes practical rather than philosophical. Trust does not mean waiting without action. It means responding from clarity rather than fear. Action taken from alignment feels lighter. It feels obvious. It feels natural rather than forced. Impulse guided by alignment feels different from impulse driven by anxiety. One feels calm and clean. The other feels rushed and heavy. If you listen carefully, your emotions tell you which is which. You are not meant to monitor outcomes constantly. You're meant to monitor how you feel while moving forward. The feeling is the indicator. The feeling tells you whether you are moving toward yourself or away from yourself. At the beginning of a news cycle, many people attempt to overhaul everything at once. They try to control habits, outcomes, and identity simultaneously. This creates pressure rather than progress. Alignment begins with internal permission, not external performance. You do not need to become someone new. You need to stop resisting who you already are becoming. Life is always responding to the version of you that you are practicing most consistently. When you soften your internal dialogue, life responds differently. When you stop arguing with your present moment, new options appear. This is not because life suddenly changes. It is because you become available to different information. There is nothing random about timing. There's only alignment and resistance. When resistance drops, movement becomes inevitable. You do not need to know how everything will unfold. You only need to know how you feel right now.
Yes.
If you feel calmer than yesterday, you are moving forward. Alignment than before, alignment is strengthening. The beginning of change rarely feels dramatic. It feels quieter than expected. Quiet is not emptiness. It is space. Space is where new thoughts can land. Space is where new impulses can be heard. Space is where alignment stabilizes. If you are feeling a strange mix of calm and uncertainty, that is not a problem to fix. It is a transition to respect. You are not behind. You are not late. You're not missing anything. You are in the process of closing the gap between who you have been and who you are becoming. When you stop demanding immediate proof, life begins offering gentle confirmation. When you stop forcing clarity, clarity arrives naturally. The work is not to make something happen. The work is to stop preventing it. You are allowed to trust what you cannot yet see. You are allowed to move forward without guarantees. You're allowed to believe that alignment is already working in your favor. Something is changing. Not because you forced it, not because you controlled it, but because you finally stopped arguing with yourself. And that is how alignment quietly activates.